Hey guys, so how to win in business using principles from the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. So this is great for people who are like accountants, therapists, let's say you're a bookkeeper, any kind of professional services business can generally benefit from the principles inside of this book. I'm going to specifically focus on accountants and bookkeepers inside of this video, but it's definitely something that you can use no matter what business you're in. So the main concepts of this book, and this book is really a very classic. I think it's like one of the first self-help or personal development books that was really invented. And basically, this gentleman was able to be he basically partnered with Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was trying to get even more information. Now, he was one of the richest men, if not the richest person in the world at the time. And he basically said, Napoleon, I'm going to pay you to go throughout the entire world and basically interview the richest and wealthiest people. Now, from the information, we're going to start gleaning like what is the common denominator and secret to their success. So this book and some of the books, like the subsequent books by Napoleon Hill, are basically a breakdown of his journey and like what he learned so we can help regular people like you and I go and grow businesses, be able to go and reach the lives we want and be able to like live lives of like freedom, peace, and joy. So I can't wait to break this thing down. So there's a couple main concepts I really want to go over. There's a lot of concepts inside this book, and if I tried to do like one video on every single concept in the book, it would take a long time. Like there are college courses on this book and like utilizing some of the different things that are inside of it. So we're gonna probably break this video into two parts. Okay, so I'm gonna break this one will be part one, next video will be part two. Okay, so concept one is gonna be faith. So and you gotta remember too, sometimes in these like other older books, they might use words that are slightly different. Like, so when it comes to faith, doesn't mean you have to be like a person of faith or you have to be like overly religious. It's just belief. So belief in both of what you want and what your goal is. Okay. So it's we have to be consistently like visualizing and really developing an unshakable belief in your ability to achieve whatever your goal is. Now, a lot of people they maybe have like something that's like a want, but it's not a goal because stuff that's wants, it's just stuff that's like nice to have. I see this all the time. Like some people ask and if you know anything about me, I don't like messaging people on like Facebook to see if they want to like get help with like their accounting or bookkeeping business, right? And the reason why is because the number of people where it's like they say they want to do a business, they say they want something, but they're not really fully committed to it is extremely high. Let's just be honest, right? So the difference between a goal and a want is commitment, commitment and time-based thinking. So if it's like, oh, someday I'd like to, grow a business or someday I'd like to do this, that's not a goal. That's a want. And usually wants are not enough to kind of get us into motion to attack this thing. So number one, set up a goal. And then number two, you have to visualize this goal. Like so visualize daily, like what would success look like? Like if someone was to ask you, if you were to do XYZ thing, what would life look like? And you can't really picture it or you've never thought about it, you're really gonna have a hard time achieving it. Because if you think about it, finding success and like doing the stuff that's required to be successful is challenging. It's emotionally draining sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes. Like you might have it where you do a consultation call with the person, they say that they want to work with you, and then like all of a sudden they change their mind, say they go with a bookkeeper that's like three times expensive, or a bookkeeper that's in-house, or maybe they want to stick with their current like CPA, right? And that can be really frustrating and just like it'll just like drain you and demoralize you. So if there's really no strong goals or desires or wants, it's very easy to get shaken and just like stop doing stuff. So you need to know exactly what success looks like for you. That's number one. Number two, auto suggestion. So this is really about training your subconscious mind to constantly look for signs and patterns and goals and do activities that move you towards your goals. So the subconscious is really, really powerful. A lot of these like professional development books focus on the subconscious. And the reason why is because success is oftentimes a combination of all the little steps and habits that we basically either live, do, or act upon every single day. Now, some people have underlying habits that cause them not to be successful. And it's almost like the death by like 1,000 cuts, right? So let's say like on day one, you want to get started on your business, but um, I need to let's take it outside of the business because I don't want to just talk about like the business focus. Let's say that I want to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow. Okay. And on the day one when I'm practicing, use with bow and arrow, you're trying to get a very consistent feel for the bow every single time, right? And let's say that on day one, my left hand is moving all over the place. That's one cut. Number two, let's say if sometimes I hold the bow for 5 seconds before I shoot, or if I hold it for 1 second before I shoot, or hold it 10 seconds before I shoot. This variation is another cut, right? That's going to cause you not to be able to hit the mark. What's the third one? Let's say that you don't put your hand, like this hand is the one that pulls the arrow. Let's say you put it on different parts of your face all the time, right? That's another area that can cause variance inside of your ability to shoot. Next thing, do you square your shoulders when you're shooting or do you turn sideways when you're shooting? Those two variations can add another spot or a variance from the goal. Next thing, are you putting your feet close together? Are your feet square? Are your feet staggered? Do you have your right foot forward, your left foot forward? That's another area of variation. The more and more of these variations that we have, and the more of like these bad habits that we develop, the harder it is to hit our target on a consistent basis. So, by training our subconscious to work with us, our subconscious causes our body and our mind and our actions to line up consistently to the goal or desire that we have inside of our mind. So some ways you can do this is by learning how to either write affirmations or say affirmations or hear affirmations. Okay, so there's three. Number one, you could listen to a playlist, like they have different playlists on YouTube of people like saying like positive affirmations. And I used to listen to those like when I would go to sleep, and like it would make you feel positive. It would make your mind feel in the right emotion. You would be more confident. That's one. Number two, and I don't really like this one as much because I don't know. You could say out what your goals are. So you could basically write down every single one of your plans, your goals, your targets, and say it every single morning. So like I have achieved this. I spend this much time with my family every single day. I'm able to go on this many vacations per year. But make sure whenever you're doing affirmations, always in the present tense. Okay, that's just a cheat code that I've learned. If you're always saying like I will get this, your brain doesn't believe that, right? But if instead you say like this is a thing, our brain really thinks in terms of black or white in a lot of cases. I know it sounds kind of weird, but our brain doesn't really know how to conceptualize certain principles. And like it can know it logically, but emotionally it doesn't know the difference. So by just saying, I have X, I have the newest smartphone, or I have unshakable courage, or I have $1 million. If you just say it and you don't have any emotion or any like thing like negative emotions tied to it, your brain will not really pick up the difference. But what happens is your brain does not want you to feel like a liar. So it's going to help you accomplish these different tasks and actions to actually make what you're saying a reality. And you just keep doing it over and over again. One thing that works best for me, I've learned, I've felt, is by writing out my goals every single day. So on months and years when I write out my goals every day, I accomplish a lot more. On the year when I like didn't write it, it's like I didn't really accomplish that much. Right. So I'm always tracking that stuff. And I'm writing it if possible 2 to 3 times a day. So like I'll do it like in the morning, like sometime when I'm in my work. It's not always the same time. I'm not like one of those guys who's like, you gotta do it at 7 a.m. every single day. And if you miss 7 a.m. and you just lost out on the day, it's like just kind of relax a little bit, as long as you do it sometimes during the day, but just do your best. Like if you can do it at least once a day, that's going to work so much better for your business and for your life. Okay, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, but if you can write it out multiple times a day, or let's say you like speaking. I don't like speaking it, to be honest with you, because the speaking it in my view kind of feels a bit phonier versus if you're writing it down, you're not only like writing out like I think your brain, it just makes more sense to your brain where it's like you're writing it out. But so you're writing it out. So that means you have the kinetic chain going. So that's like you're writing. So you're actually moving your body. Next, you're seeing the words, and in your brain, you're saying the words to yourself, right? That's what reading is. Reading is basically you're saying the words to yourself. And then you can start hearing it inside of your own internal voice. So you're activating so many different senses, and when you're doing that, then it makes it more real for you in your life. Okay. Next thing is going to be specialized knowledge. So learning for a purpose. Now, a lot of times what happens is a lot of accountants and bookkeepers, like we generally get to a point to where our skills in like accounting are good enough and we generally don't necessarily get more knowledge. And the problem that this actually like leads to is just the fact that in order to start this business and like make it really work, there's a second set of skills that you need to learn. And if you never learn those skill sets, you're not going to be able to find success in your business. And like it's unfortunate that that happens, but it's reality, right? Like think about it. Just because you know accounting and bookkeeping, if you ever gone after a client, they say like, "How are you different than XYZ person up the street?" What that shows is that they feel that your skill set is currently commoditized, and you do not have the other subsequent skills that you need in order to separate yourself. Oftentimes, it's not just about accounting or bookkeeping skills, because there's 9 million people inside. Let's say in the United States, there's 9 million people inside the United States. Where if you go on LinkedIn, they have the word accounting, bookkeeping, or CPA inside their profile. Actually, that's not even counting bookkeeping. That's just counting. That's just counting accounting slash CPA. It's not even bookkeeping, right? So like, there's a lot of people. Now, if you understand pricing, sales, and marketing, that's what's really going to separate yourself, right? Because all marketing is learning how to communicate who you are on a consistent basis to a large group of people, so that a subset and a portion of that group will actually want to work with you. And then all sales is communicating how you're different. You should never have someone say like, "Oh, you're the exact same as this person." If that happened, that meant either you didn't differentiate yourself in the sales call, or maybe the person just didn't understand your differentiation. Either way, if you're good at, sales and consultations, then you're going to be able to pull that back and fix that, right? So that's the main thing. So I would always try and surround yourself with like experts or mentors to help fill those knowledge gaps. Now, for me, in my first year of starting my accounting firm, I spent it was like 35,000, like 600 bucks and some change. I remember that number very specifically because that was more money than what I thought I would ever spend on like stuff. Because like I was one of those people who was like, if you can do it yourself, you might as well do it. And like, I didn't even know how bad my skills were until I started seeing other people that were way better than me doing the same things I thought I knew how to do. It was actually mind-boggling how like bad I was. I was so bad, but I thought I was so good. I think most people kind of think that they're good at sales and like marketing when they start something just because they don't know what they don't know, right? You don't know how bad you are until like you actually can see it. Some people do. Like some people are very like accurate in like their self-assessment. I tend to fall more on the overconfident range. Um in a lot of cases, I've kind of, since I've gotten better at stuff, like my confidence level, I think is more tempered. But like when I was starting, man, I was like so overconfident in everything. I just thought I knew how everything worked in the world, and like I was I was gonna kill it. I was gonna like make some moves and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like you maybe you're like me, maybe you're not like me. It's okay. Like, if you're not like me in that regard and you're like more like, maybe you're not as good as some certain things in your mind, that's okay too. It's not really about where you start, it's about where you're going. Right. Next thing. So start using imagination. So this is kind of similar to the visualization. One thing you're gonna start noticing as a common theme. I have a bad taste of mouth. I had some rotisserie chicken a couple minutes ago. One thing that you're going to start noticing is that 90% of success is going to be like mental, right? So it's your ability to do like mental math. It's your ability to take rejection and keep moving. It's your ability to get frustrated at something and then come back the next day. It's your ability to compartmentalize. So let's say, for example, you have an argument with like your spouse. Can you put those feelings aside and do your job or run your business? If you can, you're going to be successful. Now, imagination is really just about, using creativity and practical imagination to develop ideas and solve problems. So, this one's a little bit different. The past, like visualization, subconscious, were all internal stuff. Now, this book is talking about using your imagination to to really start handling outward problems. So let's say that you're, dealing with a situation, being able to imagine like what are different solutions and think about it. There was this movie called The Avengers, and this guy, he was like a magician, right? His name was Doctor Strange, and they were in this battle with this like with the main bad guy, and he was basically sitting on a like levitating on this rock, and his head was moving a million miles an hour. He was basically using his imagination to think of every single perspective outcome that he could do. And he basically looked at about 3 million or 300 million different outcomes, and they lost every single time except for one. So he was able to then go and utilize his imagination to go and to basically cause the one scenario or option to basically play out. But it was all from his imagination. It's the same thing in life, right? There's a million different ways to solve whatever you're trying to solve and to get wherever you're trying to go. But if you are not able to imagine creative strategies, you're not going to be able to reach there. You're always going to be limited to kind of what you think you can do and what you can imagine. Next thing, mastery of procrastination through decision. So, one thing, when you think about the imagination, right? The one problem is like most people use their imagination to think of all the negative stuff, and that causes them to procrastinate, right? Because let's say if you have five different paths you can go down, and in your mind, four out of five of those paths are very scary, and you don't know which out of the five paths is the right path, it causes us to procrastinate. That's why a lot of people like they say they want to start a business, but there's just this overwhelming force that stops them from, moving forward. So one thing that you do is you have to make a decision. The root of decision really comes from a word. Basically, the word that it comes from, I believe it's like DEC, DC or something. And the word basically means to cut off alternative paths. An analogy that people used to use a lot on the internet was like you have to burn the boats. So there was an ancient Roman, basically Caesar, and he was going to go and conquer a land. But the place they went to, the opposition was intense. There was no way logically they could win. So a lot of them started saying, okay, so rather than going forward and attacking, let's get back on the boat, let's retreat, and let's like not face these guys because we're gonna die. Basically, the Caesar, what he did was say, oh, we're not doing that. We only win. He burned all the boats to go back. So the only way to go was forward. If you guys are gonna go make it back to your family, if you guys are gonna go make it back to Rome, the only way to do it is go take over their land and walk back. And they won because they had no other choice. So if you had the five paths, right, it's a lot. It's going to cause you to procrastinate. So you have to decide, cut off the other paths. And yes, you might go down the wrong path for a minute, but life is long. It's not a final decision, right? It's just one decision, all the decisions you're going to be making. So move down a path decisively. I'd rather know I went down the wrong path as quickly as possible than wait for, 30 years, finally decide a path, kind of, you know, walk super slow, tiptoe around it, and then after 10 years of tiptoeing, I find out it was the wrong thing to do. Now you wasted 50 years. We only have one life. You gotta go and move decisively towards what you want. Successful people generally act very decisively. That's one thing I've noticed. Like, and like I spent probably about 170K on like different like mentors, coaches, mastermind programs to be around people that have I think the largest I've ever been around is a guy. At the time, he was doing 40 million a year in his business. Last year, he did about $84 million in his business. But just being around these guys and just seeing like how fast they think, how fast they will act, if they have like the if they have basically an understanding and like a language pattern or a thought process pattern, and it matches that pattern of like what's success or like what's danger, they generally attack very fast. And I think I might make another video that basically talks about like basically, yeah, it'll talk about like give me one second, let me write this down. Procrastination. build a video. I'll build a video around like how to make decisions in your business so that you can like, grow really quickly. Not I'm not going to do it on today's video, of course, I wasn't prepared for that, but I definitely will make a longer video on that in the future. So next thing, okay, so masterminding. So masterminds are actually kind of interesting. Just like I kind of talked about, I've spent so much money on these different things, and the reason why is because knowing and being around other like-minded individuals who can support and challenge you is so critical. Now, when I say challenge, it's not like in a mean way, but it's like they can hold you accountable. It's like, hey man, like, you didn't get this stuff done today, man. You didn't get this stuff done this week. I know that you've had a busy schedule, but like, are there different things we can do to kind of reach the goal? Or, hey, man, it's really good. Like being around people that not only support you but are on the same journey as you is so critical. So critical. Um, that's one thing that I'm so glad that I paid a lot of money for like courses and stuff was because like I was always had at least one or two people where every morning I would like sit with them and I would basically just like do my action items, my action activities. And it just makes things so simple and so easy, right? And so when I say masterminds, like the best masterminds tend to be paid groups, not just like a free like group on like Facebook. And it's not that a free group on Facebook or just a free group in general is bad. It's just oftentimes when things are free, you have too many people that are kind of in that stage of like the wants, not the goals. And they're not necessarily moving in the same direction at the same speed that you are. Now, the key word is moving, motion, motion. It's not just about wanting something, it's about you have to be around people that are moving, right? Because motion motion leads to more motion. So when oftentimes what happens is like especially like in our mentorship programs, people will see other students moving and attacking, and that causes them to be like, if this person could do it, and they're no different than me, like literally a couple weeks ago, like they just started too, and now they're growing. Why can't I grow? Versus if you're like a Facebook group and everyone's like, oh, I want to start my business. Like, maybe I'll start it one day, or I'm nervous to start. I don't know if I can start. Like that doesn't happen when you're in like a paid group because generally in a paid group, like you have like a fire under your butt. That's one thing that I used to do for like motivation. Anytime that I would feel myself like getting unmotivated or like a lull in my motivation, or whatever, I would literally just buy another course. And literally, I would spend like, let's say, like 6 grand on a course. Then I'd literally get that 6 grand back like in 2 weeks because like I just attacked so hard, and it was just like ridiculous, right? But it's like, it just really gets things, and like having collective wisdom of like a mastermind group just multiplies your chance of success, and that's really all it is to it, man. So this has been part one of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Hopefully, you learned something new. If you have any questions, leave it inside of the comments. I'd love to kind of answer some questions you have, and we can like make this series interactive. I think what I'm gonna start doing is just gonna start making videos more like this, where we break down like a different book of success. Um, Based on like what's worked for me, because I know like some people like maybe you don't have the money to like pay for like an XYZ $1,000 course or whatever at the moment in time, but I still think you should be able to kind of utilize some of the principles from this stuff to be able to kind of go to get some success. Okay, so I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey today. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy.